Hello and welcome to episode 41 of Entrepreneur Stories. In this episode, we interview Cameron Gibbs. Cameron is the co-founder of Nokē Padlocks. Nokē Padlocks is a Bluetooth padlock that can unlock with your phone. Cameron and his co-founder started this company a little over a year ago by launching their product on Kickstarter. They did a little over $600,000, and then they also relaunched with a bike padlock that did over $400,000. So they've had quite a lot of success on Kickstarter, and they're also kind of in the process of turning these products into an actual company. And we get into the steps they've taken to do that and different tips that they've learned along the way. So please enjoy this episode, and if you like it, please share it on your social media. Thank you for your time. All right, today I want to welcome Cameron Gibbs onto the podcast. Cameron is the co-founder of Nokē and Fuz, and I believe he's the COO of both companies, but we'll get into that a little bit more with him. So Cameron, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be on the show.
Yeah. So Cameron, the first question I have for you is, are you excited about Bronco Mendenhall's replacement for your alma mater, the BYU Cougars?
Yeah, you must have.
That's really the important thing that we need to get covered today.
You must have checked out my LinkedIn profile and noticed where I went to school. I am a big fan of BYU football, and I don't think I've missed watching a game in years.
Oh wow!
For me, it's kind of a question mark. I really don't know what to expect. I think Bronco was a great coach. He definitely had his flaws, and Satake sounds like he's going to bring, some positive things to the program, and so I really look forward to seeing. Honestly, I don't have an assessment of it. I think it's great. I'm impressed with what he's done so far, bringing back some of the old players, and Ty Detmer. I'm a huge Ty Detmer fan, so I think that's really cool. My brother actually played football at BYU about the same time Ty Detmer played, and so I of course was a big fan then too. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens, but I honestly don't know what to expect. We've got a tough season ahead, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess we should talk about the business stuff, since we've talked about all the business stuff. But so how did you end up becoming an entrepreneur? Because you kind of started off and you worked for a couple different companies in like business development, kind of marketing stuff, product management, and then you kind of went out on your own. So what was like the motivation for getting to that point, or getting to starting your own company?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know that anyone's even asked me that before, so I'm gonna have to give it some thought here and kind of talk through this. But I think really where it started was my first real job. Actually, I did have a couple of real jobs. I actually worked from a very young age at a donut shop, believe it or not, mostly on Saturdays, and I still have a deep love for donuts.
That's good.
Even after working there for 5 years, I served a 2-year mission, and after that, so I guess I had another job working at a equipment yard. Anyway, after that, I worked at a bank for a couple of years.
Okay.
In the accounting department. And it was a job. It was an office job. I enjoyed working with people, and it gave me some experience. And I thought, okay, well, this is going to take me to a career in accounting, and went to BYU, planned on getting a degree in accounting, and really my goal and objective at BYU was to be done with school as quickly as possible. I'd gotten married, and I look forward to beginning my career and having an income and supporting a family. And so got a degree in economics, not the most useful degree for getting a job, but a degree nonetheless. And when I came up here, my first job was working for a software development company that was, at that very moment that I got hired, turning into an online retailer of connectivity products, cables, adapters, audio-video products. And it was there that I found something that I really enjoyed, and that was being part of a small company where I had my hands in a lot of different areas, and I got to work with, customers, suppliers, partners, other vendors, and I enjoyed working with all kinds of areas. I'm fascinated by all areas of a company, and worked at this company and found probably most of my time was spent on online marketing and doing some operations for the company. That experience, I worked there for 5 years, led me to my job previous to this one, which was working at Zag, which initially was as an online marketer, turned into a product manager because I was the only one within the company that actually had any experience sourcing product. And so I kind of started, I was the first person to start the product management there at Zag. And from that point on, the rest was history. Stayed at Zag I worked there for about 6 or 7 years. And while I was working there, David Gangler, my co-founder here at Nokē and Fuz Designs, he brought to Zag a keyboard for the iPad. This was immediately after the iPad had launched, and it was a phenomenal product, and David was clearly a really sharp guy. So we internally at Zag, I met with the executive team and decided let's acquire this product. Let's bring David on board, and that David and I together built out our product development, product management team, and we launched speakers and cases and keyboards and developed all kinds of cool stuff that actually never saw the light of day while we were there at Zag. And things changed there, and so we decided it was time for us to kind of venture out on our own, and that's kind of where it all started. There are a couple, obviously lots of details that I just skimmed over or just didn't acknowledge. I've dabbled in launching a business or two on the side, online marketing consulting, a business with my wife and my brother and his wife, doing memory bears, which I'm not going to go there. But anyway, I've always had this drive in me to just run a business and make money and be successful, and I honestly, if I could, and I know you didn't ask this question, but I'm going to answer it anyway. If I could, point to one thing that has led to my opportunities and my successes and failures, it would be the fact that I have this drive to wanting to do something and do more, and being passionate. Having that in you really can compensate for and make up for any other deficiencies. I'm kind of one of those guys that's a jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah. I may be doing one thing one day and then a completely different thing the next. And so that is my very long answer for how I became and why I decided to be an entrepreneur.
No, that's a great answer. That was a really good answer. So where does that come from?
I'm going to answer that, but before I answer that, I'm going to say one thing, and this is something that I've shared with others as well, and that is, I talk to kids that I know that are in high school, they're seniors, and you ask them so what do you want to do? And they're like, well, I want to be a physical therapist, and I want to, be the physical therapist for the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool, and we all have those dream jobs that we want to have when we grow up. But the reality is you get one job, whether it's, at some point in your life, during college, after college, and then that job tends to lead to another job, which tends to lead to another job. And almost destiny kind of takes you where you end up, but it's a mix of your destiny and your interest, and you kind of guide it a little bit, but so much of it is just dumb luck.
Yeah.
You know, if David hadn't walked in the door and gone to at Zag to show off that keyboard and gone to another competitor of Zag's or Logitech or something like that, I never would have. Fuz Designs never would have existed. Nokē never would have existed because I wouldn't have done it on my own. David, he's actually the visionary for the company. He's a product developer and is really good at coming up with solutions and products. He's got a deep passion for using his hands to, develop some sort of hardware product. We actually dabbled in doing a service business before we did this, and there wasn't nearly as much the passion there. And once we started making new accessories and stuff after we left Zag, it was like, okay, yeah, this is what we want to do. So back to your second question, where does that drive come from?
Yeah.
I honestly, I think that's just you're either born with it or you're not. Honestly, okay. I was fortunate enough to be born with drive, and it's kind of like that killer instinct or whatever you want to call it, where you never want to lose. You're competitive. I think that maybe if I could trace it back to something is. I love sports. I love playing basketball and soccer and ping pong and golf. And so I just eat up competition and I have this drive for wanting to win. And there are some people that aren't competitive and they're just more laid back. And it's not like one way is better than the other. They definitely have their advantages. And it's just. We're all different.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, was there like a point in your life, or was it sometime at Zag when you're like, okay, I'm gonna go out on my own, or I want to have my own company, or did it just kind of come about one day where you and David were talking and it's like, okay, let's try to do something together?
Good question. So, while at Zag, David and I. We'd meet together frequently just in our positions, and we also have a friendship, and so we spoke very freely, very casually, and we're both pretty transparent guys too. What you see is what you get. And so when we joked about, oh man, when you came to Zag, I should have just left Zag, and like we could have launched this keyboard business together, and ended up being a business that made $100 million a year in sales, and so massive business. And the idea of him going to Zag to do it was to leverage all of the resources at Zag and the money at Zag and the brand at Zag and the distribution to make it a huge product. And that doesn't mean it couldn't have been just as successful. Maybe not as quickly, but it certainly could have been as successful had it been a startup, that did that. So we just joked about that, of course, and sometimes jokes turn into reality. Yeah. So when we were both kind of feeling very similarly about what was happening at Zag and the direction the company was going, neither of us were enjoying coming into work, and so. Our exit was both of our exits were I don't know if I come up with a word for this, were interesting and different, and unfortunately not as amicable as we would have liked to have been, but unfortunately that was the case. And leadership changed there. They made some changes to management, and we did not see things similarly as they did. And so Zag's on its own path and doing its own thing, which is great. And we decided we wanted our own path, and because we both ended up leaving the same month, it was like, hey, now's our opportunity. Let's do something. And that's when eventually Fuz Designs was born, which led to Nokē.
So Fuz Designs, because Nokē is the padlock, right? The padlock and the U-lock. What was Fuz Designs?
So initially, our first product was a smartphone. I'm sorry, a charging dock for smartphones and tablets called EverDock.
Okay.
And it launched on Kickstarter in September of 2013.
Okay.
We had left Zag just a few months prior to that, and we raised $450,000 on Kickstarter with our very first campaign.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of that was, again, a lot of it was just dumb luck, but a lot of it too was execution and drive. And I mean, we flew on that one. We designed it and developed it really fast. Of course, mostly that's all David. I have the marketing background, and I certainly have experience in product development and product management. But if you ask my wife, I'm not necessarily the handiest guy in the world.
Yeah.
And handiness comes in handy when you are trying to innovate. So anyway, we launched that. We launched a follow-up dock for your car, cases, and we realized, you know what, this mobile accessory stuff, it's nice and all, but we're not going to get rich and doing it, and we're going to constantly kind of have to reinvent the products every 6 months to 12 months. And while we do enjoy doing that, we prefer to do like new stuff, not just, oh, let's make another felt case for the new iPhone, you know. And it's just it's not that fun. So we clearly had experience in developing stuff far more sophisticated than accessories, because we had developed a keyboard and a speaker and other gadgets while at Zag. So we basically stumbled across this idea of a Bluetooth padlock, and once that launched on Kickstarter, within a week we knew we had something much bigger than just a product. What we had was a business, and something that we could, it wasn't nearly as competitive and as saturated as the mobile accessory business, which is completely saturated.
Yeah.
With tons of players, and while it's a good business, there's plenty of opportunity there. You're just a small fish in a very, very big pond. And so whereas with the lock, no one was at the time doing anything with smart keyless locks and portable locks, and we're like, okay, we're gonna establish ourselves as the brand for smart locks. And then that led to the U-lock and other hardware and software that we're releasing at this moment.
Yeah. So, on the Bluetooth padlock, how much money did you guys raise on that Kickstarter?
We raised $650,000 on that campaign.
And that was your second one, right?
That was, so we did the EverDock,
the
EverDock Go, and the felt case. Those were our first three. Actually, if you look at the timing, we launched the Nokē padlock just before we launched the felt case. But essentially, we launched those three, and then we launched the Nokē padlock, which was I'm just going to call it our fourth, and then the Nokē U-lock, our fifth. So we've done 5 campaigns, and 3 of them were under the Fuz Designs name, and 2 were under Nokē.
Okay.
And so the padlock was the first Nokē product, and the U-lock was the second one. That one raised $400,000. So between the 2 locks, we've raised over $1 million, and have done more than that, obviously, post Kickstarter.
Wow, that's pretty awesome to have over. I mean, you guys you did $450,000 on your first one, so you guys have probably done at least $1.5 million on Kickstarter, and that puts you kind of in a unique class with that many successful campaigns.
We're very fortunate to be in that class of creators, but it's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get there.
Oh yeah, that's not no, by no means is that easy. But I mean, it's awesome that you guys have been able to continue to have that much sustained success on Kickstarter, because I think there's a lot of like flash in the pan type stuff where the creators don't even realize why they were successful on Kickstarter, and you guys have obviously figured something out, or some sort of process to kind of continue to break, $400,000 on your campaigns, which that in and of itself is really incredible. So why, when you mentioned this a little bit, you said that when you were in the cell phone space, or the cell phone accessory space, that there was so much competition. How did you guys get into Bluetooth padlocks and Bluetooth locking systems? Like, how did that come about? Was it David just came in one day and was like, I have this idea, or did you guys kind of sit down and like try to map out the accessory world and see where there was space to attack?
A little bit of all of that.
Okay.
And I mean, we don't do it as much anymore because we've found our business and our product.
Yeah.
But prior to the lock, every day we talk about, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? So, to come up with one good idea, you have to kind of come up with 100 bad ones first. Mm-hmm. And so, and you just kind of rank them. We've got other ideas too. And it's really just, taking that list of ideas and, analyzing it and determining which one really is kind of checks all the boxes, which one has the opportunity to be successful, which is one that we can do with our limited funding and our limited resources. Which one are we going to be passionate about? Like, is this widget going to be something great, but we don't really care to do it? Or is this widget, something that may not be quite as amazing and as sexy as, widget A, but it's something that we do have a passion for, and we have a knowledge of. I mean, none of us ever dreamed when we were kids, or even 2 years ago, that we'd be selling padlocks. That was not in our nowhere on our radar. And so, again, part of it is just stumbling upon other stuff that's out there, like whether it's someone that had launched something similar and failed on it on Kickstarter, or you just kind of keep a pulse of the whole technology space and kind of where things are going. And we have several smart home product ideas. Some of them were just way out there, crazy difficult and expensive, and require a lot of funding and a lot of resources to develop.
Yeah.
And some of them less so. And that's kind of where we ended up with a padlock. We had experience with Bluetooth. We had a factory that we had worked with that made Bluetooth speakers and Bluetooth keyboards and stuff. And we're like, okay, this is our skill set, and this is our ideas that match that skill set that we believe have potential and we can get behind and have a passion for doing, and that just all comes together. It's just how it works sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's how Nokē was born.
So here's a question. So did you guys actually have like a sheet of paper that had checkbox on it, like lines, like, oh, does it match this? Does it match this? Or was it just kind of like you guys would be like, kind of think about these things on your own, or talk about this list of things? I mean, like, did you have like the list written down somewhere that you guys would go through when you had an idea to see if it fit?
Yeah. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, that's probably what I would have done.
Yeah.
But I've learned that you can't really analyze these things sometimes.
Yeah.
You have to kind of go with your gut, or just casually and comfortably share your honest opinions of everything. And again, I think being transparent and being upfront about how you feel about something, and if you say, you know what, I don't love this product. I just don't think it's what we should be doing, and rather than holding back and just saying, well, he thinks it's a great idea, so let's just go with it. So we kind of came together, and honestly, our first prototype of our padlock and the cost, I was like, this doesn't sound that appealing to me, but the concept is very cool.
Yeah.
And my feedback, after handling the prototype was, if we can get the cost down to this level, which will allow us to have enough margin and sell it at a price that people would actually buy it at, and we could make this look a little better than this hunk of metal that we have for a prototype, then I think we have something. And so Dave was like, 100% agreed. We could clearly make this look way better, and and that's kind of how it goes. We just talked about it, and so it's really more casual, meetings and discussion that leads to where we go with it.
Yeah. So so on the Noke, the Noke padlock, I guess the padlock, not the Noke, because the Noke's the company. We
do call it the Nokē padlock. So
the Nokē padlock. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a bar over the E. We tried to be cute with our naming and everything, and it actually implied that there's, with the naming, we wanted to name something that people could remember and that would be creative. And we discussed how there is no key used to unlock Nokē, the padlock. So we're like, let's call it Nokē.
No.
And so that's where Nokē comes from.
Okay, that's cool. Nokē okay. That's actually a really clever name.
We could have put a Y on the end to make it a little more obvious, but we think that Nokē is a little more clever than just making it too obvious in your face, like some other brands could.
Yeah, definitely.
Or would.
And I don't think you could get a trademark if you put a Y at the end, because they just consider it really descriptive. So,
right, exactly.
Yeah. So on the Nokē padlock, you raised $650,000 on your campaign, and you got like 6,000 orders, or was it? I checked.
Yeah, that's right. 6,000 orders.
Okay,
a little over 6,000.
So I read somewhere online that you got an additional you ended up pre-selling in total 15,000 orders. So did you get an additional 9,000 orders in between when you closed your Kickstarter and when you started fulfilling orders, or was that like at other times you gotten pre-orders?
Yeah, so what you may have seen online is how many units we've moved, or we had moved at the time.
Okay.
And, like, for example, Kickstarter alone, we had 6,000 backers.
Okay.
But we had, like, 10,000 locks that were purchased.
Okay.
Because we had several backers order 2, and some order 3, and some order 4. And so, and by the way, that number is pretty outdated. We've sold a lot more than that since then.
Yeah.
I don't even know that I even have an order count at this point. But we've shipped. I can comfortably say we've shipped tens of thousands of locks to this point.
Yeah. So in between the time when you closed your Kickstarter and you started shipping, how did you sell them? Because I think there's
we took pre-orders. Yeah.
Okay.
We took pre-orders, and we actually took about a year to deliver on the product. So we're talking a lot of pre-orders over a period of a year.
Yeah.
It's hard to create the same kind of buzz and excitement around a product post Kickstarter. It's then just a pre-order product. It's no longer the newest. It's a month old or 2 months old or whatever, or 6 months old. So it doesn't get the same love and the same coverage that it once got when it launched on Kickstarter. So it's hard to recreate those numbers again. But just through the traffic we got from Kickstarter and through our own efforts of maintaining the excitement and everything, we continued to receive pre-orders before we shipped. And a lot of that comes down to like people just doing searches like, I have this, these lockers or these bikes or these sheds or these antennas, or these facilities that I need to lock up, and I'm constantly having to replace keys and having to cut locks and everything. And so they like do a search for, keyless lock or smartphone lock or something like that. And bam, who comes up? Nokē. And so that's how we'd get a lot of the pre-orders, was just the natural, organic searches for a product like ours, and for the continued coverage we'd get from time to time through blogs and such. I mean, that diminishes significantly post Kickstarter.
Yeah.
There's still always someone like, covering it, or especially once you start shipping and you start seeing reviews of it, that's also when you start to see another uptick and stuff.
Yeah.
So you can only sustain the excitement and the novelty for so long. After that, there has to be something about the product that keeps people interested in it and takes it to the next level. And unfortunately, 99% of the stuff that's on Kickstarter is novelty stuff and doesn't have much of a life post Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So that's why we held on to Nokē and continued, and why we haven't launched another Kickstarter campaign in over a year now, is because this is a business now, and we're not constantly trying to kickstart something completely new and different.
Yeah.
Because that would be a signal that, Nokē is no longer a self-sustaining product or business, and that we need to do something else and something new.
Yeah. So, I mean, you talked about kind of maintaining the excitement. What were you guys doing in between the close and when you started shipping to maintain the excitement? Because, I mean, you talked
not
about
a whole
people
lot.
writing reviews. Not a whole lot, really.
Yeah. No. I mean, you don't want to spend a ton of dough marketing something that people can't buy.
Yes.
Like the people, as soon as they see a pre-order button, or a shipping in June of 2017, that just stops. Everything just stops right there for most people. You'll still get lucky with some people that are willing to put their money out there so that they can get in line, and we're very grateful for those people. And in many ways, that's smart of them. Hey, I know this may be another few months, but I want to get behind this and I want to support this company, and we're just absolutely thrilled for those people. We're so happy to have them. But in terms of like marketing it, we really, really didn't spend anything on it, because your marketing dollars are going to go a lot further when you're shipping the product. So really all we were doing was trying to get that product ready to ship as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And so on your first order for your Kickstarter, did you order like twice as many locks as you had sold through the Kickstarter, or like how did you
exactly
forecast for future sales, because you just don't want to be the one hit wonder from Kickstarter?
Yeah, we ordered far more than we needed from Kickstarter, because again we knew that this was a product that had a life, and it wasn't going away soon. So
how did you guys pick that number? Like, I mean, did you double it, triple it? Did you like come up with some
because the factory had a minimum order quantity, or because we just kind of figured, well, this will be about a 3 to 6 month supply, so let's get this. I mean, we were lining up distributors and businesses and retailers, so we knew kind of going into it about how many each of those customers was going to order. And so, we did a forecast of our best guess of how many units we'd move, and that's what we did.
And so during the year or so that you guys took to fulfill, were you going to distributors, or were they approaching you guys to resell them?
They were coming to us.
They were in stores and retailers. Everyone was coming to you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, we to this day I don't think we've made a single outbound call. Everything
serious?
has been inbound. Yeah.
Wow. So what's the biggest retailer that you guys sell the Nokē in, the Nokē padlock?
We're in Lowe's in Canada. We're also available on Home Depot's website, Best Buy's website. We're about to go into a very major carrier in the U.S., one of the top 2. I'm not sure if we can disclose that yet. I'd have to check with our sales guy.
Yeah.
And we also are talking to some other major retailers as well. So it's the thing about retail is it's a very long process.
Yeah.
We've only been shipping for 5 to 6 months now, and the whole onboarding process with many of the large retailers is quite lengthy. Yeah. And so a lot of them are ordering 6 to 9 months in advance.
Yeah.
And before they place the order, they put it through the ringer and, have to test it and internally discuss it and get samples and then get more samples. And so and then get you set up and, test you in certain markets before they go nationwide, things like that. We're also in a couple of major storage, self-storage locations, and obviously the reasons there are the benefits of a smart padlock in those environments is pretty obvious. You don't, again, deal with keys. You can grant access to someone remotely, all that stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes a ton of sense. So, when you say test, do they test selling your product, or they just test how it works?
Both. Some of them actually send it to a lab, and they want to make sure it's compatible with all the smartphones, and that it works as advertised, and that there aren't any glaring issues or less obvious issues. And then they also, in many cases, they put them in certain markets or in a certain number of retail locations before they go nationwide. Others are different. Others just say, hey, this is going nationwide. We're going to get behind this product and we're going to make it available in all of our stores.
And so do they charge you for that testing? Because I know that I've dealt with retailers before, and it seems like everything they touch, they charge you. So do they charge you to test its compatibility or test whether it works?
Yeah, like if you want to do a lab testing, they will charge you for that. That's not common. Carriers like to do that.
Yeah.
More than anybody.
Yeah.
And then the other expenses, like getting set up on their system, they want to charge you like an upfront fee and then maybe charge you monthly. But I mean, they're all pretty reasonable, and they're somewhat trivial amounts that don't really get out of hand. So they're just kind of flat rate, minimal fees. So it's not too big of a deal. But getting into retail, a part of the pain of it, which is why a lot of companies don't even bother with retail, they just sell direct, is all of the costs associated to being into retail. Not what the retailer necessarily charges, but sometimes if you're using like a rep, you have to pay a rep fee. A lot of them require that you go through a distributor, so you have to pay a distributor fee who charges you for receiving and storing and shipping and charges a commission. They also charge you what they call MDF, which is basically like a marketing co-op fee. So 5% of all the sales or all of the what you invoice them for, you just immediately discount it because they're going to use that in theory to promote your product through flyers and displays and things like that. And so getting into retail it's a very expensive proposition. And so you got to make sure you have the margins to support taking your product into retail and selling it through distribution channels.
And so did you guys, I'm sure you had the discussion retail versus direct, and it sounds like you guys are kind of going big on retail. Why did you pick retail over direct and being direct selling online or another way?
Well, honestly, we are doing both.
Okay.
And we're going with the retailers because we built enough margin to support all the costs of going into retail, into the product, and because the retailers are coming to us. And when a retailer comes to you and say, hey, we love your product, this is awesome, we want to carry it in our 500 locations or 1,000 locations, you don't say no to that. You do it. They're coming to us. We're not pushing to get into retail, though we still would love to be in retail. They're coming to us, and it's making the decision easy. But that doesn't mean we're also, selling direct to anyone who comes to us, and anyone who is, a consumer or a business saying, hey, I want to buy 10 locks, I want to buy 100 locks, I want to buy your software. We're not turning them away either. So we're really doing both.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's awesome. So you've mentioned your other company, Fuz Design, and you have Nokē. Is Fuz Design kind of, you guys are just kind of putting that one down slowly, or are you guys still running these two companies side by side?
Yeah, the Fuz Designs business is on autopilot, and it will eventually just go away because, again, back to what I said earlier, to stay relevant in the mobile accessory space, you have to be constantly launching new product.
Yeah.
And we're basically selling through the remainder of our inventory, and at that point, it just kind of goes away unless something else happens there that, is something that at this point is completely unforeseen. Yeah. But for the most part, it's our dedication and focus is 100% Nokē.
So does it, do you run it as two separate companies? Because I looked on LinkedIn, you have it as two separate companies. So I'm just curious, do you treat it as two separate companies, or is it just kind of like under one company?
Completely separate companies. Okay. We took on investors a year ago for Nokē, and at that time we spun Nokē off as its own entity. So we have completely separate books for the two companies, and but our entire team is on the Nokē payroll, and all of our expenses are under Nokē. We have some ongoing expenses for Fuz Designs, like our website shop, our web store, as well as like our shipping and fulfillment. So there's some shipping expenses there, but really that's all that's going on there. We're still selling even without pushing it. I mean, we're doing a little bit of advertising, I guess, there, but it's not something that we're really focusing on and spending any time on. So they are two separate entities.
Okay. So when you guys took on investors for Nokē, how did that, how did you guys make that decision, or I guess why did you make that decision?
Well, in order to stay ahead of the competition, and in order to build the best product, we needed more funding. $650,000 is not enough,
that goes
especially if you're going to take it. Yeah, especially if you're going to take a year to develop it.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what happened.
Yeah.
So especially, there are products that you can launch and develop and mass produce for a lot less than $650,000.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be going into a space and wanting to put your, flag in the ground, so to speak, and market as your space, you better be prepared to be the number one player in that space. And being the number one player is having the best products, having the best service, having the best brand, and being ahead of the competition. And so in order to grow this business as quickly as possible, we had, trying to bootstrap it was just not an option.
Yeah. So do you guys disclose how much money you did raise, or is that not? Because I know some
we
disclosed it, but
we raised $1 million.
Wow.
In July of last year, and we're also raising a little bit more.
Wow.
As we speak, we're closing another. It's basically a bridge convertible note, literally in the next few days here. And then we plan on doing a Series A round within a year.
Wow. And so what was harder, raising the money from investors or running a Kickstarter?
Sorry, I laugh at that. It's mostly because of personal experience.
Okay.
Our business's experience.
Uh-huh.
Everything's hard.
Yes.
Getting the Kickstarter campaign up and running is so much more fun and rewarding.
Yeah.
And exciting. So if I had a preferred route, like if you could just do one or the other, Kickstarter is definitely more exciting. There are reasons why you would not want to do a Kickstarter, though, if you're trying to keep your product more of a secret and not tip off the competition.
Yeah.
Then or make them aware of it. You could just kind of go in like stealth mode and just raise the money and then just not announce it until it's available and shipping. But yeah, the process of raising money involves attorneys, and it can drag on, and basically you go from not having a boss to, in a way, having a boss. They aren't really the boss, but you still you have obligations to your investors.
Yeah.
And so we are perfectly content to having and doing, but sometimes investors can be difficult, and so you do what you do, and you work through it, you learn a lot going through that whole process of raising money.
Yeah.
And we're grateful for our investors. We're grateful for what they've made possible for us to grow the company. So it's a win-win situation. But it just adds another layer of work and something else to manage, along with the managing the business and developing and innovating along the way.
Yeah. So, that's really fascinating that within this in the last 3 years, you guys have run like five Kickstarter campaigns, and you've raised money from traditional investors. Like you guys have to be a pretty unique company. I don't know any other companies that really had in 3 years had that type of run. That's pretty awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, there's as you mentioned, a lot of the Kickstarter creators are fly-by-night companies.
Yeah,
one and done, and you don't ever hear from them again. But there's a handful that have run successful campaigns, have raised money, and have been acquired. So, which is where we end up being as well. We do. Once you take on investment money, that's when the clock starts ticking, and you're expected to either get acquired or go public or something along those lines. So that's definitely in the works for us. Something that we are working towards.
That's exciting. So what's the number one piece of advice you'd give to someone who just ended a Kickstarter and say they were successful, they raised over 6 figures, how to turn that product into a company? If it's not like a novelty product, it's actually like a legit product. Like what's if you could give someone one piece of advice, what would you give them?
Be prepared to. I guess the one advice is it's not going to be as rosy as you may think it's going to be. That would be my advice. Okay. Which I know that sounds more like a threat, I guess, than advice. But it's when you finish a Kickstarter campaign and you hit your goal and beyond. Sometimes you don't appreciate all of the expenses that are going to be coming afterwards. Yeah. And the fact that you want to trying to make a living on your what you gained on your Kickstarter campaign is not something I would advise anyone to do. You're not launching a Kickstarter campaign to get rich. You're launching a Kickstarter campaign to launch a product and ideally launch a business so that you can then have recurring business post Kickstarter. What my advice would be is if you don't have demand for your product post Kickstarter, the world knows about your product. Yeah. If you made over $100,000 on Kickstarter, the world knows. Yeah. The people that would be your customers post Kickstarter, a lot of them have found you. Not all of them, just a very small percentage of them. But if you're not getting emails and phone calls from the distributors or retailers or from more and more consumers, if you're not getting those, you probably don't have a sustainable product, sustainable business. You need to fulfill it and move on to the next thing, and that is a sustainable business. So now if you do have something where they're calling you and they're emailing you and they're continuing to show interest in placing orders with your product post your Kickstarter campaign, what would be my advice for those people? Gosh, I mean, there's 1,000 things I could tell them, and everything is going to be unique to them and their skill set. But that might be my advice is, continue doing what's working, continue, stick with your strengths. And if you're hoping to grow and be bigger and you can grow and be bigger, but you don't really have expertise in that area, find people that are experts in that area. Like, some of us try and be good at everything. Yeah. And there's a point where you got to realize, like, okay, this is what I'm good at. This is what I'm not good at. And trying to become good at something you're not good at sounds like something noble, something worthy of doing. But in many cases, it's, like for me, I've resorted to the fact that I am not going to be an engineer. And I know that I'm not handy. And so I'm going to just leave that to David and the development team. Yeah. That's not where my strengths are. I'm going to stick to my strengths, and I'm going to partner with people, whether it be literally partner and start a business or partner in the sense of, have some sort of contract with someone, that you outsource work to, someone that does have that strength. So I guess that would be my advice to them.
That makes a lot of sense. That's really good advice. Well, thank you so much for your time, Cameron. Here, let me turn off the recorder. And before we do that, where can people find your company? How can people get a hold of you guys? How can they learn more about your products? Yeah, so Nokē is the padlock and our U-lock are available at Nokē.com, Noke.com. Okay. If you're interested in our docks or our cases, you want to go to FuzDesigns.com. That's Fuz Designs.com, all one word. And we hopefully you'll find Nokē available in some retailer near you. But going online, whether to our website or to Amazon, you'll get it and it'll ship same day, so you'll get it quickly. Very cool. Thank you so much for your time. And